Smokeout Canada. I am your host, Nate, and it is time for us to have some fun. My guest, Chris Osterman of Iron Kingdom, will be joining us shortly. I don't know why. I've been having issues talking the past few days. I don't know why. Maybe some levels.
Hello.
Hello, Chris. Welcome to the show, and thank you for being here and taking time to be with us today.
Yeah, of course, man. Thank you for having me.
No problem. For anyone watching who may not... Oh, I hear a little bit of echo. That's okay. If you just want to turn the volume down a hair. And there we go. Beauty of Discord on your computer is you also have the ability to control like my volume. So if you click on my picture, you'll see a little volume lever there. So you can do manual adjustments. So that's really handy. Really comes in handy with group chats in here if you have like 6 people and they're all at different things. But first off, again, thank you. And for anyone who's watching who may not be familiar with you, care to introduce yourself quickly? Oh, kitty!
There's the kitty. My name is Chris Osterman. I play guitar for the band Iron Kingdom, and I also sing.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you for taking the time. I'm going to quickly change just this setting here. There we go. Yeah, I had a thing, and I don't know why. The past few days have been a real mental like overload at times, so I'm trying to reprocess everything. I had a bunch of stuff in mind to talk about, and I'm sure you've had those moments where you're like, all right, ready to go, and CPU just rebuffering, loading everything back up. But 12 years. I was just looking at the thing because I remember back in 2012, I think Iron Kingdom came to Medicine Hat. You guys played with Naraka. And now looking back on it, like, what's that like for you? Like, going on now your 12th year with the project, going through everything you went through, because we briefly went through the bio, and just going as strong as you are. You got some stuff booked for 2023. You're playing all waves. Like, what's that feel like for you being this far along into it?
Well, I mean, I think there's quite a few things. Like, some of it is like, finally, some of it's just, we're stoked. I mean, it's really cool to be at our stage now because it kind of feels like all that work for all those years has finally built to this point. But yeah, I mean, there's still lots for us to do, lots for us to grow. So
I think that that says a lot right there about just character in general. The fact that you guys have been at it for this long, you're not like, oh yeah, we know everything. We know what we got. We're hot shit. We know it's like, no, we're thankful to be here. We got more to learn. We're going to learn it. We're going to keep kicking ass, but we're going to keep doing what we do. And that's one thing I got to say I really like about you most of all, because you and your bassist, I believe, are the 2 main consistents in the band, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, he was there when we started the group, Leighton.
Yeah, so like I'm most familiar with you. Every time I see you guys, it's always like, oh, new face. I'm glad to see they're still going around, and the new person, they fit. This is perfect. This is like a perfect match. Good way to be. But you've always been like this really chill, wholesome, like easy to get along with, easy to talk to guy. I remember that about you when you first came here, because I was like fresh blood in the scene, just trying to get my foot in the door, be like, hey, hi people, what is this? How do you do this? And I remember you guys playing, and hey, you fucking brought it. Like, there was always like that thing when a band, especially in those first few years, like has a certain energy about them and a certain, now I would describe it as professionalism, but back then I just call it presence. But like, how you guys hold yourself, how you guys perform is just like, oh, there's something about these guys. I hope they stick around for a while. And here we are 12 years later. What's it like going through that time and dealing with the changes you've dealt with? Because obviously you've had lineup changes. We all had COVID, which was a huge life change for a lot of us at times. Like, for you and the project, what's that been like going through those processes?
Oh, well, I mean, there's so much has happened. I guess lineup changes have been interesting. Like when you have someone who say like Kenny, for example, who was playing guitar for us for like 6 years or something like that. You know, when he left, it was kind of like, oh, okay, crazy. Or Amanda for that matter, right? You know,
Hmm.
3 albums and then they leave, and you're just like, oh, okay. You know, you don't really see that coming, but it's that's just kind of life sometimes, and certain people are at different points in their life, right? So yeah, I don't know. The changes are just kind of part of it, right? And it's been cool having Leighton by my side for all these years as well, and now Megan's been in the band for quite a long time too. I think she's verging somewhere around 5 or 6 years. Um, and then Max has joined like literally right at the beginning of COVID. So, you know, him coming into the group was really interesting, but it's weird because it felt like he was there the whole time. And like it doesn't feel weird or anything when he joined in any way. It was just like, oh yeah, this is the guy. He should have been there years ago, but he's here now. And, you know, we just kind of are rolling with it, and I think it's working really well.
That's really awesome, and that's gonna feel really good too, being in a project and going through those changes and finding someone and not feeling like there's this almost ironing out process, just feeling like, oh no, the pieces fit, and that's it just feels like everything's back at home. I have a question here from Paul in the chat, and I want to encourage anyone else, if you have questions, feel free to chime in. That's the beauty of doing this like live on Twitch, is viewers can kind of chime in and be a part of it. So I always love that. Paul asks, were there ever times where you felt so disheartened you wanted to stop? And if so, what helped get you out of that funk and motivated to continue on?
Okay. That's a good question. There was actually one time, well, oh man, probably a couple times really, where you kind of sit back and you're like, oh man, is this it kind of thing? Like, I don't know if you mentioned the fact that we flipped our tour vehicle one time.
I wanted to ask you about that because I came across that and went, holy shit, what? Like,
Yeah,
that
man.
must have been crazy to just experience and deal with, and I can't imagine the shock after.
Yeah, well, and like once I knew everyone was safe, and you know, a couple members had to go get checked out at the hospital, but overall we were fine, and we actually played, I think, Lethbridge or something the next day, I think. Um, but and then I think Medicine Hat was like right after that too. But we missed Calgary. That's the only date we missed. But literally like that moment when the vehicle was still in the ditch, or I mean, ravine or whatever you want to call it, and we were sitting there just kind of standing at the top of the road. We're kind of all looking at each other. Like, well, what do we do now? Like, you know, we don't have the money to recoup our losses from this kind of thing. Like, we don't even know what's damaged. So yeah, there was definitely a moment there where we were kind of like, this might be it. You know, I don't even know how we could recoup it. And then we got a bunch of help from fans and stuff like that. We did a GoFundMe after. Like, I waited so I was so against it. I was like, no, we got here if we can work. I don't want to beg for money now, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said before, the money was just so daunting. We were like, no, we have to ask. And the guys, like, the whole group had to convince me. I think it was 3 or 4 days after it happened that we finally put it up.
Damn. The moment you mentioned that, it finally, like, it popped up because I remember Vannon sharing that and Johnny sharing that because he loves you guys. He went on that mini tour with you guys in Naraka back in 2012, and even to this day, if we bring out underground bands, he'd be like, yeah, but are they Iron Kingdom? Yeah, I didn't think so. Those guys fucking rock. Like, yeah, they do, Johnny. That's great. That's a crazy thing that happens, and that not just that happens, but that happened to you guys in particular, and that it's not only like a very dangerous situation, like it's life threatening, but even after you get out of it and everyone's okay, there's so much additional stress and so many other things to deal with because of that. And I'm wondering for you too, like, what was it like to have to like finally, I guess, for lack of a better term, put your pride aside in that moment and be like, okay, fine. Well, I don't want to do this, but if people want to help, we need it right now. So I guess, okay, fine, we'll do it. And then after that, too, getting the help from people. What was that whole thing like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I originally didn't really think that we'd get much support in it, you know, and I was kind of like, oh, you know, everybody was telling me, no, we really got to do this. It's kind of our only way out of this. And I was like, oh, I mean, okay, guys, we really think so. I don't really feel good about this. I want to give people something for what they're doing us, right? But that literally saved the day, 100%. You know, I think we ended up getting like $5,000 or something like that, but that basically covered the vehicle that we had to buy. And we bought it in Calgary while we were on tour. And Bannon actually went out with us looking for like RVs or whatever we could find. We stayed at his house for like 3 days or 2 days or something. And he would drive us around like, hey, check out this RV. It's just outside of Medicine Hat or whatever, you know. So it was just really cool to see that support, and that was super heartwarming for us. I didn't expect to see that much support, and it just flooded, and it was amazing.
It really is. It's amazing what fans or just supporters will do in a moment you really truly need it, and have to reach out. And also just people like Bannon. Huge shout out to him. He's like one of the OG flag bearers in the Medicine Hat metal scene that I can remember. He's done so much for myself and others here, you especially, like that. And that's what really matters. And that I bring this up every time I have a guest in, but that's one thing I love about this scene in particular, whether it's the punk scene or the metal scene, because they very much overlap now. It's that sense of community. It's that sense of if like something gets really, really shit, you got people that'll be there to have your back, even if you feel like you're just trust falling into an abyss, and you're like, okay, let the spike pit take me, and someone's there like, no, I got you, man. Like, don't worry. Like, you got support here.
It's true. The metal scene is very unique in a lot of ways, I think, or punk even too. Right?
Yeah.
It's really interesting. I mean, I can't speak so much for the punk side, but I know for metal, it's just like even just the fact that people still buy CDs and you know, or cassettes or vinyls or whatever. Like you don't see that in every genre, right? Like, and that's a lifesaver for bands like ourselves who are still independent by choice and you know stuff like that. It's like this is the only way we can keep going, right? Mm-hmm. But I did want to just circle back a little bit.
Sure.
If
yeah.
Go
ahead.
Answer. I don't know if I fully answered Paul's question there.
Let's circle back to it.
So what I was going to say was there was a couple other moments, I think like on tour specifically, where, you know, you're just kind of like you've been playing gig after gig after gig, and there's like 5 to 10 people showing up at times, and you're just like, man, is this worth it? Like, are we actually doing anything here? Are we impacting people in any way? And you know, there was one time where I pretty much broke down. I was just like, I think this is it, man. Like I could feel, I think it was right before Kenny and our drummer at the time, Joey, right before they left. And I could just feel there was tension in the group. I could feel that they were kind of distancing themselves. And I was just like, I don't know, man. Again, I feel like we've lost it. Like, I don't know what happened here. I think we were on tour in the States or something. And we finished the tour, and I don't even know if we broke even. And we're just kind of like, man, what are we doing kind of thing, right? I think we played 100 shows that year. And it was like barely any city was repeated either. I think we played Vancouver twice maybe in that.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, exactly. So, you know, we toured and toured and toured and toured, and we were like, it felt like we should be growing. It seemed almost like the band was lessening or something.
Yeah.
And we were just kind of like, man, like, what was the point? And you kind of feel within the camp that things were just not really there 100% anymore. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I questioned it. I was like, is this it? Like, do we keep going? You know, I talked to Leighton. He's like, I'm here, man. I'm with you still. You know, and I think that's been a huge push for me as well. It's just the fact that he's stuck with me for so long. and just kind of always been there even when things have gone to shit, you know.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, somebody still wants to do this. It's not just me. I'm not the crazy one.
I got someone here with me.
Yeah, there's at least a second crazy here with me too. So I mean, that's always been a big driving force for me too. Is just someone always being there and being like, no, this is worth it. But you know, in the end, though, I mean, the fans alone are a huge reason why we've stayed at band. You know, just hearing stories from fans and how our music has impacted them has made a huge impact on us and myself, of course.
No,
I mean, sorry.
no, it's all good. I was gonna say that's like having that that person next to you to kind of reassure you that no, you're not at this alone. You're not the only one who wants to do this. I'm still with you on this. Don't worry, I got your back. If you're doubting yourself, don't worry. I don't doubt you. That's why I'm still here.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, but you know, I mean, obviously with the current lineup, that's been a thing for longer than it seems, actually, because 2020 has already been 3 years with this lineup, believe it or not, even though we've only done one tour. But, you know, it feels like a family again and tight. You know, like, it feels like everyone's in for the right reasons and everyone's here because they want to be here. And that's all I could ever ask. But, I mean, again, like, to answer that whole, like, you know, what keeps us going? Well, it's the stories from the fans too. So like, I've had somebody tell me that they got through, I think it was the war in Iraq or Afghanistan or something, and they're like, yeah, I was listening to Rap for Glory like every day, and it just like pushed me through it, kind of thing. And I got home, and now I got to see you guys play. I think it was Rooster in Massachusetts, and he came out and he was like, I'm buying everything you have on the table, and he's just like, I need everything. Can you sign it? Absolutely, dude. Like, he's like, you basically saved my life out there. And I was like, wow, okay, like, that's huge, you know. I mean, that's just one story, but there's been plenty of other ones too.
And the beauty is, like, it only takes the one, right? It just takes that one person in connection to make you feel like, no, there is a reason or a purpose to what we're doing. It's not just us playing music and performing and stroking our egos and being like, yeah, look at us. It's like, no, we're actually making a connection. We're actually doing something positive for someone through this. And
exactly.
That's the most important thing about this. Paul has another one here that's actually really good. I have a few, but I want to get his in. What would you say to a 5-year-old Chris if he could see you now?
Oh, man. I'd probably be like, look, man, this is going to be a real hard road. Probably going to hate some parts of this, but it's totally worth it.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
That's... I would just not say anything at all and be like, you'll figure it out.
I love that one too. I love the whole, like, if I could say something, would I? Because what I wanted to track the path that this individual takes, because it's the good and the bad, everything that happens that makes this entire experience.
Exactly. Like, you know, it'd be different if you had a warning. You'd be like, maybe that's going to be too hard.
Exactly. Oh, that's great. You mentioned that you guys played 100 shows. Like, I know you mentioned there were some trials and tribulations that came from that, but for you yourself, what else did you learn about being in a touring project to the, I guess, caliber of Iron Kingdom at that point? Because a lot of bands, you know, maybe they'll play a few shows a month, a few shows a year, depending on where they're at. But to go and, like you said, play 100 dates in a year and none of them are repeats aside from maybe the hometown, like, that's a completely different experience. Yeah.
I can tell you there were definitely points where I didn't know where I was. I'd wake up in the van and I'd just be like, wait a minute, what state are we in? When the guys are like, we're on Vancouver Island. We're not even in the US. What are you talking about? I'm just like, are you? Oh, shit.
Oh,
okay.
Shit, wait, we're home?
Sure, man. And they're like, you booked this thing. I was like, oh, man, yeah. But it was just so many gigs, right? Like, there's just a point where you just yeah, it was normal. You just woke up in the bus or the van or whatever it was, right? And just looked outside and you're like, oh, hey, gas is cheap today. And you're like, no, that's American, you know.
Oh, damn it.
But yeah, anyway, it's funny. It like I love clearing myself. So if you love it, it's kind of like it's just a part of you. You travel, you see different places all the time. Yeah, it's pretty much gas stations and venues, but it's there's something about just being somewhere all the time. You know,
Yeah.
just going around.
Constantly on the move, the active nomad, just going everywhere at once.
Yeah, yeah, it's fun. I enjoy it. I don't know.
That's awesome. And you brought up like how the band feels really like gelled, almost like a family now. I got to definitely say, I felt that vibe when I was running the camera for Trash Talk while he was interviewing you last year, Loud as Hell. Just like all four of you just vibing there, having a good time. Be like, no, I hope this lineup sticks. I like this lineup. They seem to like this lineup. I hope this one sticks around because you guys have a really cool vibe and energy amongst yourself, even live. Like everyone seems very well suited for their roles and can do what they need to, and are also just chill people on top of it, like off stage, which seems really, really cool. It's really, what's the word? Makes it alluring to be around.
Ah, well, thank you. Yeah, it's fun. We get along. So,
That's cool. I mean, that's the best part. I do have to ask though, because like you said, you guys play a certain style of music, and it's very traditional, as you guys put it in the bio. What's it like for you guys sticking to that and really like keeping consistent on that, and still like doing really well album to album, keeping your sound evolving, but really making sure that what you do is like reflective of that sound you really want to like not recreate because it's your own version, but it's that stuff that really drives you that you're like, no, we want people to keep hearing this. What's that like for you, maintaining that while also watching kind of the hodgepodge metal has become at this point? Like, it's so. If when someone says they listen to metal now, it's like there is no go-to band. It's like, okay, can you be a bit more like descriptive there? Because there's like an ocean now.
yeah. Well, I think for the most part, all of us are pretty influenced by similar groups. I mean, it does vary a bit. You know, each person has like a little bit of a detour here or there.
Yeah.
You know, as you say, an ocean out there. So, but I think the thing that makes Iron Kingdom a little bit unique is, although we are traditional as a basis, we kind of dabble in things a little bit. We'll jump into like we're okay if there's a couple riffs that are almost doom sounding or Black Sabbathy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then we're also okay if we do like a super progressive thing or a power metal thing, or you know, like we'll jump into little worlds that we really appreciate, or even thrash for that matter.
Yeah.
We'll jump into little worlds just for a little bit when we find it's cool to do so. And I think it keeps us progressive, and I think it keeps us kind of like doing our own thing and just always kind of growing in some way. And if we really want to, sometimes we just take it back a little. We're like, you know what, we were a little too aggressive on that one. Let's go see like classic for this one. You know, and then we'll just write like more bangers, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it's just like, okay, that's the focus now. And then, you know, next album, well, bangers are fucking fun, but why don't we do like a little bit more epic this time? Or, you know, let's explore a little bit more, and then we'll do that. You know. So we kind of keep it fresh for ourselves. I guess that's the way that we keep the music fresh. Is it's fresh for us too.
That's good because it allows you, like, you're not pigeonholing yourself, right? Like you have your foundation, like you said, but if you want to veer somewhere, if everyone's down with it, you make it work, and that's what it gives. I think gives bands longevity too, and allows their sound to sound consistent yet ever evolving at the same time. And that's one thing I really appreciate about bands that have longevity to them, is being able to go through any point in the discography and be like, oh yeah, no, that's still like them, and just being able to hear the different points in their careers and hearing how it all came together.
Yeah, I get what you mean. It's interesting. Like there's a sound that's kind of there regardless,
Yeah.
But you can see that they've explored in different aspects. And I guess that's kind of one of the things that we've always really liked about, say, Judas Priest or Rush or the Scorpions, for example. Those are three great examples of bands that kind of like always evolve their sound. They might stick on a sound for an album or two, right? But they kind of move on to something else
Yeah.
because they always want to keep it fresh. And you can see that they don't really care that. Yeah, you could make 6 Screaming for Vengeance albums, and I'd fucking be totally into that. But at the same time, you know, like we wouldn't have Painkiller if that's what they did, right?
Exactly.
If they just kept Screaming for Vengeance, as cool as that would be, and I'd love it, but where would Painkiller be? That just wouldn't be there, you know?
It's that ever-evolving sound allows creativity to showcase itself in many different ways as things evolve. That's one thing, like, love them or hate them. Like, they're not my favorite band now, but 14-year-old Nate was a huge Metallica fan, and even now, like, I'm not a huge fan of what they're doing, but I can at least be like, you know what, good on them. They're still going. They're still doing their thing. Lars is still trying. So, like, fuck it. Like, who cares if I, like, if it's, like, the best thing in the world or not for me? Like, I know how long they've been in the game. I don't expect them to be trying to keep up with trends because, God forbid, I don't want Metallica playing 9 strings. That's... So, like, it's now though the mental image though of James just holding on to a 9 string while Rob's maybe holding a 7 string bass is, I kind of want to see that Photoshop now. Not gonna lie, that would be hilarious. You mentioned that you guys, like, by choice, are independent. I think that's a hard route for a lot of bands to take because for yourself, then, like you said, it's all on you. Like, the backing that you have is like your team, your fans, and your band. So what was it like for you guys making that decision? Was it one you guys already had made before anything came your way? Or was it one that you guys kind of made once something came your way and you guys had to make the decision then?
Well, I mean, originally we were thinking, let's wait till we get a record deal, you know? We'll just keep playing and writing and, you know, try to connect with some label people and all this stuff. And then we were kind of like, well, how long do we have to wait for that? Because we're 18 now. And, you know, like, Ozzy Osbourne had albums out with Randy Rhoads when he's like 19 and 20 and stuff. We're like, well, what about us? Like, I want to tour for decades, not like 5 years or something.
Yeah.
So we were just kind of like, okay, well, why don't we just put something out and see what happens? Like, I don't even know if labels are going to do much for us. Like, maybe it would. At this point, we don't know. But, I mean, it was never really a decision so much as just kind of like we never saw the right deal, if that makes sense. Like, we've been offered different deals, and I always look at that. I send them to the group too. I go, what do you guys think? Let's go through it. And it seems every time that we're always at the step beyond what they're offering. We're already doing what they can offer us, or we're doing more. And it's not that we couldn't use it. I'm sure we could, but that label's not able to give us what we need in order to go. You know, because we're big enough that they would want to sign us because we'd make them bigger. But we're not going to really you. Exactly. So we're kind of like, you know, it I don't know. There's a battle to be fought there, and I'm sure there's plenty of people who could tell me without a doubt that we've made terrible decisions due to that, you know? Or maybe they just feel like, no, that's awesome. I don't know.
I think it's, in my personal opinion for me, because a few bands that I really respect are bands that found a way to somehow get the deal no other label thought they would get, use it to their advantage, not let the label owner dictate their direction, and then when the label, like, the contract was over, went, okay, cool, that was great, bye, we're on our own again, and now we definitely don't need the label. And in my opinion, it's the best way to go about it if and I hate the word because it's used in so many different ways, but if you want to keep integrity within the project, and but by that I mean you're making sure that what you're doing in its end serves the purpose that you want it to serve. In your case, it's connecting with your fans. Like, would signing with a label help that get bigger, help that get better, or do better than you can already do for yourself? No? All right, then why should we do that? If we can do it ourselves, why just fish that over? But I'm sure in the reverse situation, if a label came to you and went, hey, we know you can already do X, Y, Z. Let us help you with Omega and Alpha, and then let's talk about this, and you guys will keep the rights to your stuff. You already have your stuff, so you guys can do that. Whatever. Let's help each other grow. I'm sure if it felt like went the right way, you wouldn't necessarily be opposed, and that's a healthy way to, I guess, view it. Because I know, personally, for myself, I was on a huge F all labels. They're all useless, but that's not entirely true. There are some that do stuff for bands. Locally, Arrival of Autumn with Nuclear Blast, I think. I'm almost using them as a gauge because I'm so hyped to see an Alberta band on a label that I grew up listening to records off of, being like, oh yeah, here we go. This shows that something can happen. But now I want to be like, okay, let's see what the end result is, because we all know we in the area are going to support them. But what's the additional like push do? Will that help them get to the next level? If so, fuck yeah. All right, everyone in the scene, step up your game, because they just proved there's something here. So now let's keep momentum going. And if not, oh, well, that sucks. That's not their fault, though. They're still fucking fire. Let's keep going.
Yeah. Well, exactly. It's it's kind of a risk, and it's like each time we make an album or something and we get that choice, it's kind of like, well, I mean, we got here. We're just like, well, but we have all these opportunities already and stuff, and we're just like, I mean, we could just keep rolling with that, But it's like you said, if it was the right deal, we would not turn it down, because it would be like, oh, well, they actually want to work with us, like, and respect what we've done so far, kind of thing. And that's where I think we maybe would have a different conversation here. But I think the world is a little bit different now than it used to be. I don't think that the labels have as much of an impact as they may have, maybe 20 years ago or 30 years ago, let's say, where being signed was like, that's a big deal. You're going to sell 100,000 copies, whatever. I don't know. I mean, signing might make, 1,500 sales turn into 5,000 maybe, but you're going to see a quarter of that money that and how the else do you survive without that money? They basically often expect you to record, mix, master, make the artwork, make the booklet, basically send them a finished product, and then they print it. They print it and they give you like a terrible % back, and you're just like, well, why didn't I just do all that and then I print it?
This precision disc, like, they're really close to us. In your case, they're like right there. They supply everyone in Western Canada with some A-class like physical distribution. Like that's the thing that always baffled me. But like you said, I think we're in this flux right now. This change. I don't think we're through it. I think the past decade was like the start of the shift, and now we're seeing what happens when certain dominoes fall, like the Ticketmaster Live Nation fiasco going on. I'm surprised it took us a decade to be like, why is this a thing? But no, the same people control everything. Wait, they're charging themselves. What the fuck? But I'm interested to see where it goes throughout the next decade. And what's cool is it's going to be down to everyone involved, not just those on the like major label platforms or the bigger stages, but the underground too, because we're seeing so many things grow, from things like Loud as Hell, Alt Waves, Moments Fest, Decimate, Armstrong, AMF. And that's just like the western side of Canada. So it's really cool seeing, or I guess first seeing like how the underground's growing, and then I'm looking forward to seeing like what happens in the next 10 years as this continues on, because honestly, I thought the pandemic was going to kill a lot of things. in regards to just like how well things were doing, because it seemed like so many things were on an upward trajectory and then just got taken out of the knees. And I wasn't sure how everything was going to recover. And everything just came back at full force. Be like, no, fuck that. We took a few years off. Never happened. Don't know what you're talking about. No, been here the whole time.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there were definitely a few things, but we're talking mostly like certain venues and things like that. Like you have in Kelowna, like me and Coast, they went out. In Vancouver, you had venue on Granville Street. That was a cool place. I think Astoria is gone. I don't know. There's
venues dropping, but the bands and the promoters are still finding ways to make things work. And if they've lost venues, they're finding either new venues or other ways to pull it off, which I think is very important.
Yeah, no, I agree. And funny enough, I would actually say that there's more fans now. I almost feel like that time away from music being there and available has shown people that it's like, no, we appreciate this a lot and we want to go to shows. So I don't know. I mean, maybe having that weird break was good in some ways, but
the little bit of mental insanity we all dealt with in the end had a net positive result. We just had to lose some hair in the process.
Exactly. And you know what? Maybe some more people listen to metal because they went crazy over it.
Exactly. It was a great outlet for that time. Looks like I got a few more here for you. How do you keep a strong relationship with your muse, inspiration? Do you find it comes and goes, or do you find that you can work with it when needed?
Well, I think for me, it's kind of like it comes and goes in waves. It's like we're writing an album. It takes me like 2 months to get into the vibe, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, this is it. And then it's just riff after riff after riff, and song idea and whatever. And then it'll be like, okay, well, there's an album. And then sometimes we'll try and write past the album, but usually we just stop. And then we're like, okay, that's it. And then the wave slowly fades because we stopped writing. So now we're practicing to tour it. And then like, the next year or something, we're like, hey, we should really start writing again. I'm like, okay. And we're like, I got all these ideas. Okay, cool. And then you're like, oh, but those are all old ideas, right? It's like, oh, yeah. But it's okay. We'll get some new ideas for them. When we start jamming it, I'm like, huh, did we hit a wall just now? And then eventually it comes back. But, I agree. It's kind of like, for myself anyway, I think for the whole group generally, but I don't know, I can't really speak for everyone. But I've found it kind of goes in waves based on what our goals are at the time. When we're writing, we're writing. When we're touring, we're practicing. There's
two different mindsets.
Yeah, and they're very different.
Oh yeah, because live, like you said, like playing all those shows and going through it, like in the case of like playing 100 shows, I'm pretty sure it just becomes second nature. Like you get used to the routine of wake up on the bus, get to the venue, watch everyone set shit up, go play, get it torn down, maybe hang out with some people, drink, hang out, get back on the bus, repeat. But like the time you get to practice is literally just being like, okay, so what went wrong yesterday? All right, so change the patch cable so that doesn't happen again. Do we have spare G strings? Why? Well, again, we know what happened last night. I don't know what the fuck's with the G string, but like we can't have that anymore. So there's so many other things you're thinking about versus when you're in a writing process. You're like, oh man, I really like that beat. What can I do with that? What can I do with that? I don't even care if my guitar's out of tune. What does that sound? Ooh. Okay, now we'll tune it up.
Yeah. Hold on, what's this note? I can't talk to that. Let's memorize that part. Yeah, let's memorize that.
One guy in the background that hasn't been doing anything the entire song finally. Dude! But then what after that? What if we do this? And then after that we go into this blah, 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 and this is here, and then we come back here, and then it all comes together with this, and everyone's just like, oh, so you were paying attention. Cool.
We're still not doing it, though.
It's a good idea. I'm glad to see you were paying attention, but no. What's it like for you guys writing with each other, though, in that environment? Like, is it very evenly creative, like everyone kind of contributes, or do you more so have roles in regards to songwriting?
I think it's sort of a mix of both. Like, if anybody has an idea before practice, let's say, they'll prepare them, bring it out to the rehearsal, and be like, "Hey, I got this idea. What do you guys think?" You know, and then everyone kind of goes like, "Oh, that's sick," or usually that's the case. That's awesome. Let's do that. But it doesn't always work out. Every now and again, we'll write something. Yeah, I don't know. Let's put that on the side and rewrite it later. It's like there's cool riffs or there's cool ideas, but they don't feel like a song. So we're just like, just put that to the side. We'll come back another day. But yeah, it's like I think everybody is pretty involved. Like you said, there's usually like Max will be behind the kit and he'll be like, "Hey guys, what if we throw this part in? Or I really think we should go back to that intro riff here or something." It's just like, "Oh, okay, well, I didn't think about that. I guess we could try that." And we try it and see if they're like, "Yeah, that was sick." Like, maybe not, But,
good idea. Maybe what if we put this and that in front of it first and see if that works? If not, we can just cut that riff out completely. But let's see if we add another thing in front of it first.
Yeah, it's a lot of trial and error. We jam everything out quite a bit, so it's kind of like everybody's there, kind of making decisions as a group, and the sense of roles. I mean, Megan and myself are pretty involved in the riffs. Leighton's very involved in the lyrics, and then Max is just. I found Max is actually relatively involved in the actual putting the songs together at times, as well as suggesting like, what if we took this, maybe a different way to look at something. Or even Megan will do that too. It's like she'll take something that I thought was a chorus and be like, "No, that's not a chorus. That's a verse." And I'm like, "What?" That was totally a chorus.
Right there, all the gears just shift. You're like, "Wait, what is perception?" Oh shit! This song just changed, and I am stoked.
Yeah, well, and then there's also the opposite of that, and you're just like, "I really liked how it was before,"
No, it's a chorus, goddammit.
Yeah, well, and then you listen to it for like a week or something, and you come back and you're like, "Okay, fine, you were right."
It shows a lot of musical maturity, and not only that, just I think mental maturity too. Like having that kind of dynamic, being able to be in a room with each other, vibe, throw things on on and off each other, see if things work. Maybe reluctantly do something, just be like, "Oh, fine. We're all in this together, fine." And then when it works, admitting it, or either in the moment or even like the next day, but it's at some point in time realizing like, "Oh no, okay, my idea wasn't the better one. That idea was," or the combination of all of our ideas worked instead of like this initial idea. And that shows huge maturity. Or the other one of being able like, "Yeah, these riffs are sick. They don't fucking fit together though, so let's just put them up here on the shelf. We'll come back to them later. We're not going to just force something because we like how this is, how that riff sounds. We'll come back to it. Leave it alone. We'll come back."
Yeah.
And that's a really mature thing too, because a lot of young bands especially, they'll get transfixed on like one or two really sick riffs that they wrote, and then they'll spend months trying to just different ways of like a song progression that'll work based off those riffs instead of just being like, take a break, write something else, come back later.
It's true, yeah. And I'm super jumpy when I'm writing. Like, I'll be like, "Let's work on track number 2." I mean, just in theory, right? Like,
yeah,
we don't know what the track list is, obviously, because we're still writing it, but it's like, let's work on track number 2, or, and then the next day it's just like, "Nah, let's work on 5. Let's work on track 5. Dude, I don't know what the hell's going on with that one." And then, within the 2 hours that we're jamming or whatever on track 5, we're like, no, let's go 7.
That was fun. Let's go on to the other one now. Scratch all the different itches.
What did we do though? I don't know. We're just creating a vibe across the whole thing right now. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Well, that's sometimes especially for I think what you guys write, that's really important because you guys aren't relying on like polyrhythmic chugs that are falling in like over 4/4 and just like, "Ooh yeah, that sounds intense." You guys are writing like stories as you described with your song, so that vibe is very important. So that kind of care and just being like, "Okay, well, I'm done feeling this one for a bit. Okay, cool. Let's go to we'll come back there later. I'm feeling this one now more. You guys feeling that too? Hell yeah, here we go. It allows, I think, more creative flow too. No one feels what's what I'm looking for, bogged down by hitting that brick wall at a certain point. You have somewhere else you can turn.
Kind of like you just about to hit the wall and you're like, I'm going to turn right now.
Yeah.
You know? Every time you just like, let's not overdo this. Let's move on. You know.
That's I think that's something I think a lot of people, if they're watching and listening, if you don't already, definitely try to do that more. It's amazing what it can do for just your mental health as well when you implement that kind of mindset.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I don't like to feel stuck on something. I'm just like, my brain will figure it out. Just give it some time. Subconscious, go. You know?
Got this. You described earlier how like albums kind of have different vibes. We touched up vibes in writing. How would you describe the vibes of the most recent release?
Ooh, well, I mean, when we recorded the Bloody Creation, it was, or not even recording, but writing it. I mean, we wrote that all through COVID, right? So we were all pretty much in a lockdown, and it was like, we pretty much made the band our bubble. We were like, we don't see anyone else. We just see our own. You know, you know, we like, you know, did what we had to do, right? And then we're just like, okay, well, you know, let's just write as much as we can and see what comes out. And it was just generally pretty dark. We were not really in the best places mentally, you know, but music was a great outlet for it. And I think it kept us all kind of sane, to be honest, you know. But yeah, I think the Blood of Creation is interesting because if you kind of think about it, it's almost like taking the best of everything that we did on every other album and like making an album of it. That's kind of how we felt about it anyway. I don't know if that came across.
That's a really cool description of it too, and I think that can, like, the fact that you guys were with each other, like you chose, like, no, we are the bubble. We have this time to be isolated, so fuck it, let's write, let's do stuff. I think that really allows that too, because you don't have to worry about upcoming shows. Like, every life is as it is. Like the first half year, everyone was like, cool, we don't leave the house for anything. Nothing. Not a damn thing. And then things slowly like eased after that. But I think it does show, and it comes from that collective coming together that you guys had, like, because you guys then were kind of leaning on each other's strengths. You were always like sort of pushing each other to do different things, go in different directions, but also like you're always in the same area. You're always going to be in that like writing one-upsmanship for yourself, where like it's the healthy aspect of being like, no, I just want to write something better than the last thing I wrote. How do I do that this time around? Instead of being like, I want to write something better than like the top 20 musicians that I listen to. Oh, what a pillar I have set myself upon. Oh no. So yeah, it came across is my long short of saying that.
Oh, cool. Well, thank you.
Let me get that there. With that in mind, what are you guys looking to do in 2023 now that things are kind of moving along? I know Alt Waves announced you guys as the first wave of the festival, which I'm stoked to see you guys come down and perform at that. But what else can you let us know about what Iron Kingdom has in store?
Well, we are also announced for a festival in France.
Goddamn.
So, yes, we're playing a festival in, I believe it's called Themes. It's like close to Champagne, I think.
Oh, that's cool.
Or something like that. I don't know. So, somewhere in there. I could be pronouncing things wrong, so I apologize. But the festival's called British Steel Saturday Night Festival or something like that. So they actually have, I don't know how into Iron Maiden you are, but one
of the main OG bands from that time where I'm like, oh yeah, you can put anything of theirs on and I'll just be like, we vibing.
Yeah.
We vibing.
Did you ever watch that video, the early days or something like, or the early years? I think it was called.
Oh,
It was
geez,
like
yeah, years back, yeah.
it was like a documentary. So we're playing with one of the drummers who was in Iron Maiden in the '70s. His name was Thundersticks, something like that. So he wears a mask all the time, and he's one of the bands playing. And we're just like, what the hell? Is
I'm
this?
thinking of the old 70s video promo of back when he was in the band and they still had the OG vocalist and they had the old like mask
Yeah,
that used to bleed.
like the blood. Yeah, yeah.
That's really cool. With you mentioning France, I can't believe I almost forgot this. You guys have played not just North America, but you guys have gone international playing. There's that German festival, like you said, you got that French festival. You guys have played Brazil, and from what I understand, you guys have gone over very well in Brazil as well. So, what's it like leaving the North American kind of climate and musical atmosphere and going over and performing in places in Europe or South America?
Well, I mean, everything's different, and that's the weird thing is every region I've found like it's not even just different in the sense that people react differently to the music. It's also like people are just like even interested in different aspects of the band. Like when we tour Canada, it's like t-shirts are the bomb. Everybody wants a t-shirt. When we go to Europe, everyone wants a CD or a vinyl. You know what I mean? Like t-shirts don't even really sell that much. It's so weird. It's very different. And then Brazil is like just a whole other world again. You know, everywhere we've been, it just feels like you're entering some other like universe or something. And like music is appreciated in certain areas more than other areas, and you know people just go to things more. It's more part of the culture, let's say, or it's very different. Like even Canada compared to the States is very different.
I've noticed that just having a few guests I've had on the show that are from the States, just there's slight differences in a lot of areas, and then there's the big ones in others. But it's amazing what that border like just does in creating like those different cultures.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I feel like there was something that you had asked me earlier. I don't know if I answered it. You were
Now I got to think on this and be like, did no, because we got the vibes of the album, things you're looking for.
Oh, you were asking me about what we're up to.
Yeah, 2023. Back to more of 2023.
Yeah, I didn't really answer that question. I kind of just
We went
trailed off. Yeah. But basically, to answer your question, there will be a bunch more show announcements coming soon. But essentially, what people can expect is we're not just going to France, we're going to be doing a European tour. And we're not just playing alternative ways, we're going to do some form of a Canadian tour.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm excited for you guys. Just the fact that you, like I said at the start, you guys are continuing on. It's your 12th year. Despite all the trials and tribulations, vehicle issues, lineup changes, COVID, you guys are still kicking it, still going strong, still representing not just like old school traditional heavy metal, but representing Canada in general, playing wherever you guys are playing internationally in North America. And I wanted to really wish you the best of luck with everything you guys are doing in the next year. I hope just things continue to do well for you guys.
Thank you.
You're welcome. On that note, if there was one thing Iron Kingdom could do, whether that's like a show, a release, achievement that you haven't, what's one thing you would personally love to see Iron Kingdom accomplish within its lifetime?
Are we talking like realistic or not realistic?
It's up to you. You can be realistic, you can be unrealistic, you can give both. It's completely your call.
Well, dang. There's so many things, but they're different levels, you see. Like, it'd be really cool to play the Hammersmith Odeon, for example. Especially if it's sold out, that'd be even cooler. You know?
That's cool.
And if it was our show, that'd be even cooler still. You know, like we're headlining. To play with Saxon gig with Saxon would be insane to me. Or Halloween, for example.
That'd be really
I don't know. Or like Judas Priest or something. Like you can just keep going.
Yeah.
Layers. You know what I mean? Like it's like an onion here. You gotta. It's like Saxon first, and Halloween maybe. Anyway.
It just keeps going after that.
Yeah, it's like we have short term like dreams, and then we have like, but what if we played like Rogers Arena and it sold out? You know?
Man, that'd be cool. I think that would be cool. And the beauty of it is like, because I know a lot of us like humbling ourselves is a very key thing of what we do, because if we don't keep ourselves in check, it's really easy for everything just to fall apart around us. But with that too, I do find at times, and that's why I asked, like, sometimes it's good just to project like the things you would really like to do at some point, because it's weird, it's odd, but it's like a form of self-manifestation. Whether or not it happens or not, I guess is irrelevant, but you said it now. It's out there in the ether in some way, shape, or form. Who knows what happens past that? And I hope in the career of the band, you achieve at least some of those goals, if not all of them. That'd be great. I would wish that on you, but in the realistic realm, I hope you at least achieve the short-term ones and some of the fantasy ones too. Just because, why not? Dare to dream.
Yeah, totally. I mean, realistically though, like for us, if we were able to do tours where like we could consistently have 200 to 300 people show up to a gig, that is the dream.
Hell yeah!
Because you can live on that. I think you could maybe not completely live on it as a like sustain yourself personally, but maybe you could. I don't know.
You'd find ways to at least make it workable at that point.
It would be like, you know what? We're not worried about our, expenses at home. We're not worried about anything. It's like there's going to be food every day when we tour. There's going to be water. That's like things that you'd think should just be there. But yeah, there's not always there when you're on tour. So
the times you're thankful McDonald's is open at 3 a.m. Like you're just like, I don't want it, but it's the only thing, and there's nothing for 5 more hours. Fine, yeah, here we go.
Yeah, I mean that's the good side of touring. That's if you have money to buy McDonald's.
That's true. That's true. The other side is sitting there being like, hey, did anyone buy bread before we left?
Yeah, that's more realistic for us.
Yeah. Just the one person in the back with the spoon and the peanut butter being like, shit. You want some? You're good.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I love it. Well, Chris, I've taken up about an hour of your time, and I want to thank you for taking the time to be on the show. Before I let you go, is there anything else you want to promote, talk about, shout out?
Well, thank you so much for having me on the show. And yeah, I mean, if you haven't heard of the band, or maybe you have, but you haven't checked it out or anything, check us out online. We have Facebook. We have a website, www.iron-kingdom.com. There's YouTube, Instagram, whatever floats your boat. Check it out. I don't know. Dig it. Cool. Shoot us a message too if you want. We're always around. So
Hell yeah. And when I let you go, is there any particular song you want to close out on?
We played Sheath the Sword.
We did play Sheath the Sword.
Okay. In the Grip of Night.
Let me find that here quickly for you.
This one was...
In the Grip of Nightmares?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, can I tell you a quick thing about this before you play it?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So this one was actually a tune that I had written partially before, actually, when we did On the Hunt, that album. And the group was like, I don't know, I'm not feeling this one. And I was just like, it's such a good song, though, guys. We got to do it. And then I convinced them. I was like, we're going to rewrite the song for the next album. And we did. And Megan came in with a really cool chorus, and you'll hear it. And then that's the song. And it just kind of came together really quick. It's about Elric of Nanaimo, I think it's called. It's like an old 70s, like sci-fi, or not sci-fi, it's like fantasy fantasy series, kind of like Lord of the Rings or something. And it's the connection between the sword Stormbringer and Helmich himself, and how the sword kind of controls him in a way. So it's kind of interesting. It's kind of about going insane, but also like thinking that you're not going insane. I don't know. There's just this whole crazy world there.
I'm excited. We're going to check that out. Everyone, be sure to go check out Iron Kingdom. Lizzie's got the Facebook there. We'll share the website as well. We're going to check out is it In the Grip of Nightmares? I want to make sure I wrote it down. Perfect.
In the Grip.
Perfect. Once again, Chris Osterman of Iron Kingdom, thank you for taking the time to be on the show. I look forward to seeing you at Alt Waves and possibly at a few other events. We'll see once they all get announced. And hopefully sometime I can have you on the show again in the future to talk about what a year you've gone through and had after 2023 has come to a close.
Sounds good, man.
Awesome. Thank you again. Much
Thank
love,
you.
my friend. Round of applause to you. Enjoy the rest of your night. Peace, my friend.
Cheers. Rock on.
Rock on. Chris is a wicked individual. I'm so stoked to have him on. I always feel bad when I end the call because I always feel like I end it like a hair too quick. Biography. Look at this, guys. Look at this. Look at this website here. I'm gonna pause it. That can be louder. Oh, yeah. Guys, let's break this down a little bit. Go back to your spot. Thank you. Inspired by legendary pillars of heavy metal such as Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, the Scorpions, and Rush, this four-piece is well known for their energetic and electrifying stage presence, as well as intricate musical melodies that bring listeners back to a time when heavy metal was at its prime. Formed in Surrey, BC, Canada in June of 2011, the band's core members were Chris Osterman on guitar and vocals, bassist Leighton Holmes, and drummer Amanda Osterman, joined by Jordan Wright on guitar. This quickly changed after recording their debut album, Curse of the Voodoo Queen. Jordan was replaced by guitarist Kenny Crocher. Curse of the Voodoo Queen was released on December 14th, 2011, and the band took the opportunity to tour Western Canada, along with an appearance on the TV show Canada's Got Talent. Didn't know that. That's cool. My grandpa used to work on the traffic lights in Surrey. With the debut album receiving little attention, the group decided it was time to record a new album, and by April 26th of 2013, Gates of Eternity was released, garnering some strong reviews coming in around the world. Attention was growing, and the band was invited to perform at Germany's Keep It True 17 festival. This opened up many new avenues for the act to pursue, including some serious time on the road through Canada in 2013, Europe in 2014, followed by a tour in the USA with California's Night Demon. The band had created some major momentum, and Iron Kingdom were spreading their moniker far and wide in support of the first two releases. On July 30th, 2015, Iron Kingdom released not one, but two more albums, Ride for Glory and their third full-length album, which was their third full-length album, as well as Unleashed at the Kraken live in Seattle, an exclusive live EP recorded on a previous tour. The band set out on the road again in support of the two new releases. The tour was unfortunately riddled with many trials, including a vehicle accident that almost killed the band members. Following the tour, Amanda decided to step back from the band to pursue other commitments. Joey Paul then took her place behind the kit. Life on the road continued, including a massive North American tour in 2016, as well as a tour in Brazil and supporting slot for former frontman of Iron Maiden, Blaze Bayley. After many performances, guitarist Kenny and drummer Joey departed, thus leaving the door open for Chris Sonia and Megan Merrick on drums and guitar, respectively. It took 4 years for the follow-up album after Ride for Glory, but finally, on October 4th, 2019, On the Hunt was released. This was the fourth full-length release from this traditional metal act. Iron Kingdom toured On the Hunt immediately with an extensive North American tour in the fall of 2019. And shortly after, toured Europe in March of 2020. Thankfully, the band was able to perform the majority of their European dates, but unfortunately, COVID-19 took its toll and their final performance was canceled. At the return of the tour, drummer Chris Sonia decided to depart from the group, and the band, now consisting of members Leighton Holmes, Chris Osterman, and Megan Merrick, began auditions to fill the void. In spring of 2020, Max Friesen joined the band, taking a seat behind the kit, and once again, Iron Kingdom stands ready to take the world by storm and aid in the revival of the mighty and classic sounds of traditional heavy metal. After the completion of the Road Warriors tour through Western Canada, support of the 2019 release On the Hunt, Iron Kingdom announced their fifth studio album, The Blood of Creation, released on November 4th, 2022. So there's a new album. And guys, like, this is some well done, well put together stuff. We got a nice bio. And, like, the beauty of having your own website, right? Right, bands? Take note. This is, we got a lot of history in those few things. We learned a lot about them. And now we can kind of take a few avenues